let's talk about crowdfunding for social media influencers. The best way to describe this is if you were a band that was playing in your town square and people were passing by and you had a tip jar and they would be, putting dollars and cents into it just because they want you to eat the next day. And they want nothing in return. They believe they've already gotten what they want from you, which is your talent, your music, and so forth. Same concept here. There will be a following that you have, and a lot of them are, or a certain group, obviously a smaller group, but hopefully a large enough group, will like you, where they would just want to donate to you, and you don't have to do anything in return. There's several ways of how you can receive that money. The most common one is, of course, Patreon. If you haven't heard of it, it is the most common way how people can donate or pay for some of the products or services on monthly basis of their favorite social media influencers. Now, we're going to talk about the second part of it, about actually providing those services and products to your audience for monthly payments, a little bit later. Right now, we're just going to talk about the passive ways. And so in this case, you will just say, hey, you can donate whatever it is, dollar and on, so I can eat, so I can do it full time. But a lot of people basically are saying, listen, I need to buy equipment, or I need to travel to a certain event that I will cover for you, or I need a new guitar. So depending on what it is, a lot of times people say, okay, we want to participate in my favorite social media influencer, getting some money, getting some funding so they can produce better content for us, or just even continue producing the content for us. Now, there are other ways, of course. Now YouTube offers this feature, which is rolling out slowly. Bigger YouTubers are getting it right now, but as always, a new feature will trickle down to a certain type, to the level of YouTubers, and you probably will have to have a certain number of subscribers, maybe 1,000 or so forth. But you get this button where people can just donate to you, and they will become members of your YouTube channel. But they really don't get that many benefits, except for if you're doing live streaming, they get some privileges and icons and so forth. But overall, they're essentially donating the money. Right now, it's $4.99. That I'm hoping will change, but for now, it's just going to be one amount, which seems to be kind of an average what people are willing to donate on a monthly basis. So if by the time you're watching this video, this feature is available to you, which I'm assuming is a smaller YouTuber, you can do that on your YouTube channel. And of course, there's always PayPal. This is something where you can take through your website, or just give people a link where make sure that to market that it is a donation and you are not giving anything back for that. And I believe, and you better check with your tax consultant and so forth, it will still be an income unless you're a nonprofit organization. This is obviously taxable income, but again, please do check with your tax consultant. So these are the three most common ways. There are other websites and ways how you can receive money, but usually they're very specific for your type of content. So if you are producing that type of content, you will probably find out about them on your own by watching your competitors or friends and people in the same niche. So I don't want to go over the smaller ones simply because they're very specific, but you should have at least one of these threes if you are looking for tips, donations, and so forth. Now, I do have to kind of roll back and say that this does work for someone with a bigger audience, because the bigger audience you have, the more super fans, the fans who really, really like you and willing to donate you have, and therefore you're able to make some money. But it really does depend on how much your audience likes you. I know it kind of sounds really weird, but some YouTubers and social media influencers are just more likable than others depending on their content. For example, if you're following a family with kids, you obviously follow them because you really like them. You really kind of, they becoming part of your life on daily or weekly basis, and they're more you're more than likely to donate to them if they're asking for your help, versus someone like me who just does daily news. I'm a talking head. A lot of times I talk about the news people don't even want to hear. So therefore, I'm not exactly a likable person in their life, and they don't really almost care about me as a person. So my Patreon account is really not a good example for that, because I'm just not the right target audience for this type of way of making money. But as you're starting out, just like I said, if you have that extra 20 seconds that you know you can try to sell something, donations essentially is the way to sell your likability to your super fans and receive some money for it. It doesn't cost anything, so I would certainly encourage to consider this, especially in the beginning when you're just trying to make a name for yourself. In the future, there are plenty of social media influencers who make a majority of their income on Patreon and donations and so forth. But then, of course, don't forget, they're your boss. Just like if you were to get sponsors, you depend on them. If your audience, for example, is a very much a family-oriented audience, and they expect you to be very proper and not to curse, and all of a sudden you decide to go, off the deep end and start cursing and so forth, people may turn on you and start taking their donations away. I know some YouTubers, for example, where their Patreon community kind of bonded together and wanted to influence the opinion or content of that YouTuber or social media influencer. So, be careful what you wish for, but just so you know, every time you take money, especially from a group of people, it comes with a price, especially if that amount becomes a substantial amount. Nevertheless, something to try. And that pretty much concludes the passive income from social media. And that means I'm very excited because now we're going to talk about the active ways to make money on social media, which I personally am a much bigger fan of.